We kind of count September as our starting point. I'd have to go back and look at some of the specific messages again and blah, blah, blah. There was a period around now or maybe a month before now where I was pinging a few people to see if they might be interested in doing an M&M style project. Response was kind of like, you know, and it's nothing on them. It's just that's the way it always is when you're starting something off and you don't have like you don't have your built-in crew of homies that you're already down to go to war with. And so we talked about it more and more on the stream in 2020. So the short answer is roughly 2 years. We're coming up on 2 years. The long answer is then Nick and I started talking about it, and then in more and more detail. And I believe Secrets introduced Ollie to us. I thought Ollie, is that accurate? I don't remember. Or Secrets introduced Ollie to Nick, and Nick was like, "Hey, we gotta talk to this guy Ollie." And then from there, it just kind of like became our little crew. And Bunny was in here moderating. She was like the first person to ever stop into my chat when I first started streaming EQ stuff. And I really liked her ideas and lores and stuff. Basically, there were like 4 of us off and on for the first year. And we had some people help out with a couple things and then bounce. And that happened a couple of times. So it stayed basically the 4 of us, me and Bunny talking about a lot of lore and background stuff. All 4 of us talking design stuff. Nick focused on design and getting QA set up, and Ollie just focused on tech. Really didn't have any art support for the first year, so we contracted art, we contracted concept art, we contracted out some 3D work, which our human character is kind of an iteration of an iteration of an iteration, and then some more iterations of that original 3D character that we had a guy make he was super fun to work with. He was a really cool guy. He was freelancing at the time, but he basically was just about to start full time for a major MMO company, and he has a really cool name. And so he was actually honestly working as hard as he could to meet the deadline before he was officially starting at this other company and wasn't allowed to work with us anymore. Made our first human model in that first year. Early, some like the very first concepts. Let me see if I can find one of the sort of the first things that were ever made for us. I think you can still find them on the website. It's not like it's a super top secret or anything like that. You can find them in our old original updates, I think. Oh, that folder is still, the project was called Project N at the time. That was our code name for it. Because we didn't think SchmEverQuest was going to be a good code name. Yeah, he was a super fun guy to talk to. So anyways, that was the first year. And then the second year is when things really started rolling. That's when we ran into basically the whole crew that we have here now. Like, and I'm trying to remember if it was the end of the first year that Hamad was working with us or beginning of second year, but I would say first year. He was basically doing lore, and we used some of his 2D work as well on the website. But then we got serious on the art side in year 2. That included getting should I do alphabetic order? Yeah, I'll do alphabetic order, real name. So Goblin, Zukin, and Pattis on the art side. We picked up John, picked up Gary on the tech side. Robert came to us, I think, definitely after the artist. Most recently, we got Keith. Saw Goblin's stream the other day. His concept art is incredible. Yep, he is a damn artiste. The cool thing is, I mean, the team, as far as I can tell, the team gels pretty damn good. Everybody's got a pretty rad personality. We're still a very small team. We'll eventually have to scale in capability, but it's when a team's nice and small and you got people with good personalities who generally work well together and all that stuff. Just always want to be careful in how we scale things in the future. So Pattis said, it was about a year ago I started watching EQ dev VODs, and will be a year since I first reached out about the 3D position in about 2 weeks. Nice. You guys try to remember your dates. I can use Discord as well to keep track of some of that. And then when we've got our shit together a little bit more, we'll do a better job of celebrating anniversaries and stuff. So I think one of the first pieces of art that we had commissioned was the stuff that Matilda did. in a freelance capacity. So it's like one of the first things she sketched. And she's coming from like no EQ reference. I don't think she's old enough to have played any of the old like Asheron's Call, Dayak or anything. And then that quickly became like some work like this. And then it became this guy from Zoltan, who then went through a lot of iterations. And I know we've just been working. Are the people you want for the dev team experienced, or are you willing to work with new devs? I would say the bulk of our team they're not like people that came straight from the games industry. So we've been pretty good about bringing people in that have like either games related experience or just general tech experience or indie/community, indie experience or came from the community, things like that. Still one of my favorite models to date. When we got the bat in, so before we got the bat in, everything was basically a capsule like this guy. And that included like little satellite looking bats and capsule snakes and capsule alligators and everything. So these things just started becoming critters when we got our artists on. Like the bat. I think the bat was one of the first things Azukin made. And I love it. I love it to death. So Brad, we've been open to bringing people without experience on the team, depending on the role and depending on the person. I think for us, it's mostly about seeing what the person's actual capabilities are, what the degree to which they actually really truly want to work on the project, their level of commitment, which usually there's a pretty lengthy feeling out period, and then whether or not the personality drives with us.